I feel like I'm in Buenos Aires, but as if it had hundreds of years of history. I'm Naka, this is Japatonic, and today I'll tell you about my trip to Italy. We came here for a little over a week of vacation, 2 nights in Rome, 2 nights in Florence, Firenze, 2 in Venice, and another 2 in Rome, which is where we are now. Honestly, it's impossible not to love this city. Look, it's like a giant museum, open 24 hours a day, all day long. Everything is old. I mean, if there was something I was maybe expecting, not that I was really expecting it, but I thought a little more that maybe it would be more like a modern, advanced city or something like that, because it's Italy, Europe. It's one of the most important countries in Europe. But no, everything is super old, and honestly, I'm loving it. But to a level where, for example, all the buildings are preserved old, but on the ground floor, there's a modern, normal, everyday store. And honestly, that's something I love, because it's not like there are huge shopping malls in Venice, which is something I hate. It's really great to wander the streets here. But we didn't go in. We didn't enter any of the popular monuments. I mean, we just walked around the streets and took pictures at the entrance of the Colosseum. At a distance from the Trevi Fountain, you have no idea what the Vatican is like. We arrived, and the Pope had just died like about a week or 2 ago. So that means there's no Pope right now. We arrived in the area, and by the time we reached passport control and all that, because of course, since it's the smallest country in the world, you have to show your passport and all that, go through immigration, you know. The number of people there is impressive. But I mean, you completely lose all desire to visit. And there are some Indians. Well, this country is full of people from India working, and some of them offer you tours. I don't know. They tell you they'll get you in within an hour or 2, and it costs you 60 euros. And if you wait in the regular line, you'll be there for 3.5 or 4 hours to get in. Honestly, we completely lost interest, and we said, let's go. No, let's just go. I mean, I prefer wandering the streets, which is why I skip those things. People travel however they want, but I don't like that approach. Now, for example, when it comes to public transportation, it's a little complicated at first because you have the option to get paper tickets, which honestly is the least convenient. I did it with apps. For example, in Rome, it's MoneyGo. You buy the ticket, validate it right away, and from there you can use public transportation for 100 minutes, which applies to buses, or for the subway, it's for 1 ride. But the crazy thing is that if it's buses, you can freely get on buses for 100 minutes, or there are also 24-hour plans. You validate it then, and the time starts running. And if someone gets on to check and you haven't validated, they'll give you a fine. Although I think it was 70, 80, or 100 euros, but so far, none of the buses we've taken have checked at all, and people just get on. It seems to me like many people don't pay for the bus, but they can't skip the metro because scanning the QR code from the app is required.
And now the bathrooms. There's a really funny contradiction, because everywhere you go, there are places to serve yourself free drinking water.
Everyone fills their water bottles at the machines or fountains, whatever, but the bathrooms cost money, unless they're in a bar. But the thing is, the bathrooms in bars or restaurants, most of them don't have toilet seats, and sometimes they're dirty. Paid ones vary. Some are very clean, others just okay. But one thing, if you go to public bathrooms, pay with a card, because they have a place to use your credit card. And then the machine opens. If you pay in cash, it happened to me once that I lost 1 euro. I put in coins, but the machine didn't work. Then I've seen people who speak Spanish saying, "Oh, Clara, give me 20 cents, because I don't know why it took 20 cents from me," and things like that. But there's a whole business around bathrooms here, you know. By the way, this is the city where I've seen the most people speaking Spanish in my life, outside of, in a country where Spanish isn't the native language, and especially Argentinians, but there are Argentinians everywhere. People speaking Argentine Spanish are everywhere. Honestly, walking around is great. The area is beautiful. It's crowded, but the people bring life to the streets. But when it comes to entering monuments, honestly, it's not great because there are too many people. Also, if you plan to enter all the important monuments, I mean, it would take you a lot of time. And also, it takes a lot of preparation time with having to look for and book the tickets. And a lot of money because all the tickets cost 10, 15, 20, 40, 60 euros or more. And honestly, you end up spending a lot of money. And with this trip, I already spent a lot. Just for 8 days with accommodations and everything, I must have spent $7,000 or more. More than $7,000 total, more than that, including flights and hotels. Speaking of hotels, few, there's everything. And, well, what we did was walk around the area because, honestly, Rome is pretty compact. The whole area, everything that's the tourist area. I got the 24-hour bus pass, and I didn't make the most of it, even though it cost 7 euros to get your money's worth. You have to get on the bus about 4 or 5 times. But that day, I think we only got on 2 or 3 times. And every 100 minutes costs you 1.5 euros. And well, since she's a fan of the movie Roman Holiday, that movie from the 50s, the black and white one, we visited here, which are the stairs that appeared in the movie, took a little walk around there outside the Colosseum. We only had to wait in line at the Mouth of Truth, which was free, and the wait was about 15 to 20 minutes, so it was fine. Now, about the hotels. We went from the cheapest we could find to something mid-range to something luxurious. The first 2 days in Rome, we just needed a place to sleep, one day for sightseeing, the other for travel. And it was a hotel that cost about $130 a night, which isn't cheap, but it's not that expensive either, and honestly, pretty lousy. It wasn't that bad, but it was pretty ugly. 0 amenities, just 1 towel for 2 nights. Now that said, very funny. The elevators, all kinds of elevators, almost all of them were kind of old, which was fun, but it reminded me a little of the old elevators in Buenos Aires, although different, because the ones in Buenos Aires are like gates, right? And these are like, you open one door, and then there are other tiny little doors, kind of like those little saloon doors. Something like that, very strange. And 2 people can fit, maybe 3 very thin people at most. The second hotel was already more decent. The crazy part is these aren't entire hotels, where like the whole building is a hotel, but rather it's like an apartment where on the 5th floor, there's a hotel that has 3 or 4 rooms, right? It's like an old building they've adapted. The owner on that floor renovated a large apartment, divided it into rooms, and turned it into a hotel, right? Because each room has its own bathroom. That was actually pretty crazy. Because the second hotel we stayed at, which was in Florence, was like that. Although that one was a decent hotel. It was nice, right? And when it comes to food, you eat well everywhere. The only thing I did was press the restaurants button on Google Maps, and basically anywhere with over 4 stars. Honestly, it always worked. But they do eat their pasta quite al dente compared to Argentina, which I support. I really like the al dente pasta. But the portions aren't usually very big. Usually, on the menus, you always see appetizers, first course and second course. Normally, the first course would be pasta, and the second course might be meats. Everything is tasty, but honestly, as an Argentine, all the meats disappointed me a little bit. Most places, I ate meat, had pretty dry meat. The risottos were very good here. For example, I wanted meat because it was risotto with ossobuco. Ossobuco, if it's well made, is really delicious. This ossobuco was great. Pizza. Even if you don't look for it, you find it everywhere. Really good. Most places we visited served thin crust, which I liked since I didn't want to fill up on bread. One thing certain, most restaurants in Rome's tourist areas just serve pasta and pizza, pasta and pizza, pasta and pizza. So we've been eating nothing but cups every day. But I'm not complaining because honestly, everything's really delicious. We didn't go to any famous places though, it was just what we had nearby. That had a decent rating because I've seen that there are places with very low ratings where the service is really bad and the food is terrible. But still, I was told you could eat for cheap, and at least cheap options aren't that easy to find. I think that's mainly for locals since they know the best cheap spots. But here, if you just go to a random restaurant, two people will eat for at least 40 euros at the very least. Also, since the pasta dishes here aren't that big, they don't fill you up, so you end up ordering another dish. It happened to us at a restaurant where we each ordered a pasta dish and another dish to share, and that's how we actually got full. Also, we had leftovers. But in general, just one dish at most places isn't enough. A waiter once even told me, it's a lot of food, and this one is generous. When the dishes arrived, we said we're going to order one more. We were left very hungry. And in all the places we've gone to eat so far, we've always sat at tables on the street side. It's just that the weather is nice and it's beautiful and it feels good. That vacation feeling is so much better when you eat at outdoor tables and the weather is nice. But so far, let's see, we've gone out to eat in a lot of places. And so it was just here in Rome, there have been very few beggars. And they're very persistent, often just stay standing there until you give them coins. And in the restaurant, just now, two people came by to ask. One was very persistent and the other left quickly. There are a few homeless people on the street, not many. And one detail I forgot to mention is that the pasta, for the most part, it's a bit salty. In general, the dishes are a little salty, like they go a bit overboard with the salt. Other than that, it's really tasty. And one of the drinks I like the most here is the spritz. Really good, with a little bit of alcohol, not too much. Refreshing and great for the warm weather. And about tipping, I don't know, they're not very pushy about it. Sometimes they ask you, today they asked me. Others, let's say, don't really give you much chance to leave a tip. Like in Argentina, a little closed folder where they bring you the bill. They take the money and you can leave the table with the tip inside, or sometimes a little plate with a napkin. But from what I've been told, it's not really set that it has to be 10% of what you consume or anything like that. It's just more up to your own will. There was a guy, for example, who served us so well that I said, no, I want to leave this guy a good tip. But before we finished eating, the guy got ready to leave and said goodbye to everyone at the table of bye, thanks for everything. He left saying, look, I'm done now. I couldn't give him the tip, though I wanted to. He just said goodbye to everyone like this and just left just like that. Oh, and another thing is the gelato, the ice cream shops that are everywhere. Very tasty, excellent. Honestly, you can't go wrong. But let's see, as an Argentine, all of Italian cuisine itself doesn't really surprise you that much either because it's very similar. Argentina has excellent ice cream shops, excellent pasta, excellent meat. The meat, yes. It's 1,000 times better to eat meat in Argentina than in Italy. That's just a fact, no question about it. But it's not something that really surprises Argentinians. It's nice when you find a dish that's a bit different, right? But honestly, as a tourist, I don't really know what else to look for, you know? Wow, here in the park, even to get on the little boats, there's a huge line. Also, the rides last just 20 minutes. So I'm not sure how many boats there are. There aren't even 20, so those people are going to be waiting for a while. Well, the thing is that after Rome, we spent 2 nights in Florence because, well, we knew that was the best area to stay and to go visit the Leaning Tower of Pisa. We went, returned, and bought the ticket. At the time, it was easy. As for Pisa, we visited, saw it, and left. That's it. We didn't climb or anything, because there were also some tickets you could get, and I don't know what else. You had to line up for free tickets, whatever. I no longer cared. It was all the same. We just ate in the area and left. Florence is beautiful. I especially like the market, even though it was small, since I enjoy visiting markets. The market was great and the food was delicious. Wow, but look at that beautiful park. The little lake is gorgeous with all the docks. Look at that fish over there. It's huge. It's a carp, it's a core, but without color. Well, the thing is that Florence was really nice, and it was also a small city. You can get around it very quickly. It was pretty good. The hotel there was normal. It was actually a decent hotel. And from there is when we went to Venice, and Venice, wow, Venice was the most beautiful of all, by far. I've even heard people say, no, because Venice, you can see it all in one day. It's not such a big deal. I mean, yeah, you can see it all in one day, maybe. But we also went to the islands of Murano and Burano, which were beautiful too. I mean, one was all about glass things, and the other one was all about little colorful houses, like Caminito in Buenos Aires, but larger, on a small island, beautiful. Honestly, that's the place we'd most like to go back to. If we return, we'd mainly go back to Venice, although, well, we never got to see the south, right? We know there are beautiful places there too. The cool thing about Venice, what I like the most, is that there are no cars there, because, of course, they're all small alleyways. I mean, there are gas stations for boats there, not for cars, since they can't drive there. I mean, you couldn't even ride normal bicycles, because with bicycles you have a lot of canals, little bridges you have to cross with the bike. And also, with so many people walking, you end up having an accident. They're all narrow corridors, like a maze. Without a map, it's impossible there. That's why you need Google Maps with internet, and that's what Holofly is for, right? But I mean, you walk everywhere, suddenly you have a wall that's 500, 600, 700, 800 years old. And on the other side, you have the capital of Buenos Aires. I mean, and the other day, we went through a more suburban area, a residential area, and I really felt like I was in Caba, in the capital of Buenos Aires. I mean, everything was the same style of house. They were already more modern buildings, and all in the same style as in Buenos Aires are. It's crazy. Well, now then, going back to Venice, that's where I really said, this is the place. This is where I want to enjoy myself most, because I believe it will be the most beautiful. And there we rented an Airbnb, which was beautiful. It did cost us $350 a night, but honestly, it was beautiful, really, really, really nice. I mean, it was super splash, yes. It had all the amenities, and it was right in the middle of Venice, but not exactly in the center. I mean, 5 minutes from the station, which you could walk to, and thank goodness we didn't go any farther, because otherwise it would have been really complicated, because with suitcases having to cross the bridges all the time, because just imagine, gondolas and little boats are always passing by there. I mean, you absolutely have to go up and down the bridges. They're all really big bridges, and then there's something else, right? On top of that, you've probably already seen the video of how I prepare for my trips. Whenever I travel, I don't shop. I don't want to shop because the first times I did it, I realized all those purchases were pointless. But in Venice, I did find the Venetian carnival masks, and there was one mask I fell in love with, which was the plague doctor's mask. That's right, there I did make a purchase. But it was the only place where I found something that really made me say, I saw it and thought, wow, I want it, so I'm buying one. Then we returned to Rome for 2 days, and tomorrow is our flight home. So this is going to be the only video from Italy that will come out. And yes, Rome, close to Termini, which is like the main station, and it has better connections to everything. The location is good, but the area is pretty sketchy. No, that's kind of like the equivalent of staying near Constitucion, right? It's more like that. For those from Buenos Aires, they'll know. At night, there are drunk people, people on drugs. Some people throw their bottles on the ground. So the atmosphere isn't really that great. One thing, the Airbnb rented here was about $200 a night. Super nice, beautiful. 2 bedrooms. Like one was extra, but it was really great. Now, what I really don't understand is that, and I saw this in many countries, what's up with everyone having those bathrooms with glass walls? They use glass instead of a shower curtain in the bathtub. I'm saying this because so far, in all the places I've stayed, hotels, even luxury hotels and everything, they have the bathroom, the shower, which has glass, always ends up spilling water somewhere. I mean, those showers are always poorly made. The whole floor always gets wet. There's always a little gap where water spills out. What's wrong with those bathrooms? Honestly, I don't get it. Just that all the designers always say, if you put glass, it looks really nice. And everyone agrees, but it always turns out badly. I'm not sure what this area is called, but I think it's Trastevere or something. Crossing the river from the tourist area, though this area is still touristy, but since there aren't any monuments, it just feels more, let's call it authentic and a bit rougher. There's more graffitis run down but lively, and it feels like a more distinct and youthful vibe. The gelato is really good. Honestly, it's very, very good. But Argentina has nothing to envy, you know, to good ice cream. But that's it. If you're Argentine, the food here doesn't surprise you. It's really good. You enjoy it. It's super tasty, but with how much it costs too. But in this neighborhood is where we went to eat the first night. Well, the second night when some friends invited us. Thank you, Pierre, for inviting us to dinner. What is this? It looks like a monument of I was going to say a homeless person, but it has marks as if its feet were nailed. So it could be Jesus Christ. Can you hear the bells? I think you can, right? The thing is, I don't know, it's 5:45 now. Bells ring all over the city, everywhere, at totally random times. I mean, on the hour, at a quarter past, half past, and at 10 past. I don't know, but in Rome, Florence, Venice, everywhere, bells are ringing all the time. What could they be announcing? A wedding. I'm not sure, but it really caught my attention. They're always ringing like the horn because people. The other day we saw how cars would get in between and honk their horns. I mean, all at the same time, there are drivers who really respect pedestrians. And when you're waiting on the street, there are cars that stop so you can cross. They let you go. There are very kind people. Oh, and those tiny little cars are really funny. I think they're electric. And of course, here it's really practical to have a car like that because there are a lot of small alleys. If you live in Rome and drive around the downtown area with all the people around, you can avoid crashing with those cars. Because even though these are very touristy streets with restaurants and all that, if there's enough space for a car to pass, cars will go through. And that's crazy. They said this is an island in the middle of the big river, and the thing in the center is a hospital. This is really crazy. But it's something where you arrive on the first day, you're taking pictures of everything because everything catches your attention. Everything is really nice, but then you start to think everything is the same. It's like someone who goes to visit Japan and at first visits temple after temple and temple after temple. And after a while, all the temples look the same to you. Well, here the basilicas, the churches, in the end, you see them all the same. It's like visiting the Vatican and seeing its shape, but you won't remember it because because you end up seeing everything the same, but it's still good. Everything is really nice. I mean, when you have it up close, everything is really impressive. The number of statues, the monuments there are. There are also a few trams. The trains, that's for sure. The long distance ones, the ones with open seating where you don't reserve a seat, get canceled all the time. It already happened to us twice and they were canceled. I mean, out of 3 we took 3 long distance ones without reservations and 2 were canceled. Canceling just means you take the next one. But it still makes you ask, why was it canceled? What's happening?
And all the time. I mean, when they do terminals, about 10 minutes before the train's departure time, they change the platform.
Like you went all the way to the platform, and of course, no wonder, everyone is waiting at the front end. No, they don't go into the carriage area because 5 minutes before they change your platform. But aside from that, it actually works pretty well. It's efficient. And obviously, the beautiful people, lots and lots of beautiful girls. I mean, it's Europe. European women are beautiful. You always see a lot of beautiful people, very well dressed. There's a really good sense of fashion, but even so, it doesn't reach the level of fashion sense that you find in Tokyo. No, I don't think so. I don't know any country that has such a good sense of fashion among regular people like they do in Tokyo. But the people, the men are really stylish. The girls are very pretty. There are a lot of good-looking people. In fact, you notice the people who go, well, not badly dressed, but the people who dress comfortably, they're tourists. Since you see many tourists, there are many people where you just say nothing. Completely normal people, but sometimes you notice when you see local people going out like that, dressed in their real clothes, to go out. Honestly, it's crazy. Italians have a very, very, very good sense of fashion.
The whole city is full of these €1 stores, which are great for souvenirs, you know.
They're nice small keychains, magnets, and similar gifts for €1.
It's great, just €1.
Another thing is that it's a super pet-friendly country, because you see people walking their dogs everywhere all the time. In every city, even in Venice, there are dogs everywhere. And it's really funny, because in Venice, you often see people picking up their dog's poop. They leave it in a small bag in the corner. Those bastards don't take it home. But people can bring pets into restaurants, stores, and both long and short distance public transportation without issue. There are very specific places where I saw that pets are not allowed. I mention this because in Japan, people don't go around with pets. Places where you can go with pets are extremely rare, and of course there's much less of a pet culture. And obviously on public transportation, only if they fit in a pet carrier. And look, there's the guy who's always saying to you, hey, how are you? Nice shoes, how are you? Where are you from? Look, I'll give you this little bracelet. And it's like he says he wants to give it to you, but obviously they're not giving you anything for free. That's always the case. Also, pickpocket situation here is serious. I mean, it depends on the area, but in general, where they're most common is in the subway, in the train stations, and all that. They take advantage, for example, of when train doors open and close. That's when they steal most often. I saw a couple of videos of Barcelona Pai de Cal. I collaborated with them last year, and honestly, they came to Italy, made some videos, but the absurd way they caught pickpockets was terrible. We only rode the subway once, and that trip was just 3 stops. At the middle stop, someone shouted, "Attention, attention," and something else I couldn't catch because of pickpockets. Because right when the doors close is when you really have to check your pockets. And that's because they grab at you. They grab at you right at that moment when the doors are about to close. Scooters are everywhere, driving as they please, while cars constantly honk at them. Terrible. Andala con tal culo. Look at how beautiful all that landscape full of ruins is over there. Incredible. This country is like a huge open-air museum, the whole country. Honestly, it's an incredibly beautiful country. I was really excited because there was a bus stop called Argentina, and this is the Lago di La Torre, Argentina. I said, wow, that's great. Does it relate to Argentina? No, it has nothing to do with it, because it's a place named in honor of a papal master of ceremonies whose name in Latin was Argentoratum, something like that.
No, but it doesn't matter. Still, it's something named Argentina. Things about Maradona and Messi exist because of Italian last names and cultural appropriation. I've already messed up.
But well, it's good to know that there's something, a little bit of our Argentine culture that they appreciate here in Italy too. Well, honestly, I really recommend visiting Italy. It's very beautiful. It's typical. It's a very cliché tourist country, but it's worth it. There's a reason for that. For the same reason France can be. Although France never interested me, not once in my life. And if you think Italy is too crowded, you won't have any problems in Japan. Well, there are places like Japan that are really crowded, where you can't even walk, maybe in the morning. And outside of those specific spots, everything is crowded, but not so packed. Today, I mean, on this trip, I realized what real tourist overcrowding is. Japan, by contrast, isn't like that. See you next time. Greetings to your family, your pet, and your jerk neighbor. Bye. Let's go eat pizza.